This episode is brought to you by our patrons. Thank you so much for being a patron. And if you're not one and you'd like to become a patron, just jump on over to patreon.com/LunchTimeTechTalk. Now, on with our show. What'd we do?
We did the 6-pack enduro.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Single Trail Spring / Dirty something. Dirt
Society.
Dirt Society. I don't remember.
It's all right. Yeah, so we did the Trail Spring two-pack. Secure? Is that Secure? I don't know how to say it. How do you say it?
What are you trying to say?
The rapper.
2 Chainz?
No, Tupac.
Oh, Tupac Shakur?
Yeah, I said two-pack.
2-pack. I was like...
I'm a dad.
6-pack. 2-pack.
So we did the Trail Spring 6-pack enduro over the weekend out at Two Rivers.
Yes, we did.
And it was a lot of fun.
It was great fun.
It was your first enduro.
It was.
What'd you think of it?
It was fun. I was glad that... So we didn't go and, like, pre-scout the stages.
No.
But they're all pretty common paths.
Yeah.
There was one that I was really glad that we had ridden a few times lately on our lead up to the BT Epic training.
Yeah.
'Cause there's like a little sort of, it's not tricky. It's just like there's not a ton of space for you to put your bike without hitting your pedals. And I was glad that I'd had some practice.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
My brakes kind of didn't work so well.
Kinda didn't work so well.
Yeah. I mean, they worked.
Sometimes.
So, no, they worked every time.
Not in the parking lot when you were
showing
me.
Yeah, they did.
Eventually.
No, I just squeezed them just a millimeter more.
Oh. I thought you had them all the way to the handlebar when you were showing me.
It was close. I couldn't fit my finger in between them. Let's put it that way.
All right.
So, yeah, I got to get that figured out. But, yeah, I had a lot of fun. Didn't set any PRs. Was a little sketched out because my brakes weren't quite working.
Fair.
But
sometimes when your brakes don't work, you go real fast.
Yeah, but when you don't, that's true. But that only happens once.
Right.
And then you don't go as fast because you know your brakes don't work.
Right.
So, but yeah, so I have a little video series that I'm working on.
Yeah.
So I was making the video last night and it was going to be over 20 minutes long. And I was like, no one wants to sit through 20 minutes of video unless it's like BKXE doing whatever BKXE does or some vlog of somebody building a house. I don't know why those are like, people will watch 30-minute ones. But my videos, people don't want to watch 20-minute long videos. So I have decided that I'm going to break it up into the Enduro series itself. And there's going to be 4 videos that come out 4 days in a row next week.
Because there were 4 stages.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
I think it'll be
I like
fun.
it.
And it'll shorten them up so everybody can be like, oh, cool, another one. I'll watch that stage.
Here's a quick hit.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was pretty much my whole weekend. I don't think I did anything. I don't know what else I did.
It rained all day Saturday. You didn't do anything.
Well, I did something.
I didn't.
I probably played on my iPad all day.
My poor kids just wanted to go outside on Saturday.
Yeah.
And like, go in waves.
Yeah.
And so they would find something to do and then get bored and then go outside. And when we would look, it would be raining.
Yeah.
And so they'd eventually get over it and find something else to do. And then outside.
Yeah.
And rain.
Yeah.
And so we just never lined up the timing. Plus it wasn't cold.
Yeah.
But it was cool.
Yeah. And they're used to summer at this point.
Yeah.
And
they kind of are.
They're young.
Yes.
And so this summer was like the first summer that they actually had
consciousness.
That was the same word I was going to use. That is really weird. That was really weird.
They're aware of the world now.
Yes, because last summer they were just kind of like babies.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
then
they were
this
a year and
summer-
a half. They were walking, but they didn't know what was up.
Yeah, they were licking walls or whatever babies do. I don't know what they do. I can't remember.
They lick walls.
been
You
too-
nailed it.
been too long ago. But now they're actually like little humans, little tiny humans that are like actually, oh, okay, outside's cool. I want to go out that thing because it's been fun.
Yeah, my swing set's back there. It's great times, and my bike's out the other door.
Yeah.
It's great times as well.
Yeah. So I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Man, I wanted to go outside Saturday too.
Me too.
I did go out. That's what I did Saturday. It didn't rain all day.
Not all day.
I created 2 videos.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Well, look at you.
I know. Mr. Productive.
Mr. Productive. My productive day was Wednesday. So we had off for Veterans Day, as we alluded to in last week's episode. I got my hair cut. I did the podcast notes that day. I cleaned my office.
Oh.
Because I had to come by here to get some clothes anyway. And my desk has really been bugging me. So I popped in my office for 30, 40 minutes, something like that, cleaned it up. Went for a 10-mile trail run.
Nice.
And then got home, played with the kids for a bit, mowed the yard.
Yeah.
And crashed at the end of the night. But the trail run made me done with Garmin, sincerely a fully blown Apple fanboy. Yeah.
Well, what besides obviously, I mean, they do the same thing, right? They capture GPS, but what was the reason that you're saying that you're done with Garmin?
So I went for this run, and I had a watch on each wrist because I was curious.
Yeah. And it got the cat.
It did. It always does.
The cat happens to be Garmin? Okay.
The Garmin, again, gave me, over the course of 10 miles, an extra 6 to 7 tenths of a mile because of switchbacks and Apple not being quite as precise, at least in the woods.
Right.
I don't know. So I went to upload that one because it's longer. And because it's longer, it makes my average per mile look better. All these things. Right. And again, the Garmin Connect site is down. Ever since they got ransomware. Before that ransom attack, I never had any issues with Connect or Garmin or anything. Like I never, even in the year of me running every single day, I never saw a time when the site was down.
Right.
And since that ransomware attack, it seems like every other week. I know it's not that often.
It seems like it's a lot.
But it's often.
Yeah.
And so either there's a vulnerability that people now know that they can attack, or there's just something going on. But like, I can't stand, if it were a mile run and it didn't upload, whatever, we'll get it later, you know? I can't stand going out and doing something quote unquote epic.
Right.
And not being able to look at it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there was one time I went out and did a really long run, and it turned into a downhill ski when it uploaded to Garmin. I was not happy about that. I eventually figured out what I needed to do.
Sure.
To not have it be a downhill ski.
But that's dumb.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm still getting used to the Apple Watch. I was even asking you questions at the 6-Pack Enduro about it while we were out there. But like, it's just, it works.
Yeah, it's nice.
I need a thing to work.
They made a nice product, and
it's cheaper than a Garmin watch. At least the version that I had.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, because yours was
usually
like
Apple is not
Garmin.
Cheaper than something else.
Right. You had what'd you have?
The 935.
Okay, yeah, you had the big triathlon.
Yeah.
One.
Which it's even again a little bit cheaper than the one that's all metal. I can't think of what it's called.
The Phoenix.
The Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hiking one. It's meant for like the world-ending apocalypse.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
It communicates with foxes so that they can tell you where they've buried their cash.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why it's more expensive. Because you're going to get piles of cash.
CACHE.
Oh. And a computer.
Anyway, that's That's all I had.
Okay. Well, what are we going to talk about this week? Because I have a little bit about my iPhone 12 Pro Max.
Okay.
But that's just me talking about my
Well, I did
phone.
that when I got new things, so that makes sense that you would too.
Yeah. So what do you have?
I heard a thing on a podcast that I kind of thought everybody knew.
We'll see if I know it.
And they didn't.
Oh. Okay.
Until recently. So I wanted to mention it to our listeners too.
Okay.
Because I was like, you don't know that?
Yeah.
Okay. And I heard a new thing about eBay. And at least it's new to me.
And you probably have one other thing that you should probably talk about.
What's that?
We'll find out at the
okay.
end of over on the other side of the buffer.
Okay.
I'm going to ambush you.
All right. Great.
Let's do it.
Really excited. Welcome back to Lunchtime Tech Talk. I'm Chad.
And I'm Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Chad.
Yeah.
What'd you get?
So there was an event last week where they mentioned one more thing.
Uh-huh.
But as part of that one more thing, there was also a product launch.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I have bought our first MacBook Air.
And it's not only a MacBook Air, it is the MacBook Air with the brand new M1 chip.
Yeah, the M1 chip.
Yeah.
Have you heard about this thing?
I have.
Oh, good. Then we're going to have to talk about it.
But what's great about it is they said it so many times in the actual event that you just had to get one.
Yeah. Well,
that was your only reason.
That was the only reason.
Yeah.
So actually, we refinanced our house recently, and we started this process back in July, actually.
Yeah.
And because rates were so low, like banks were just inundated. You know a little bit about this as well.
Yes. I do.
And so like we had actually, I didn't know any of this, but they had filed for a lock extension on our rate.
Mm-hmm.
And they started messaging us about a closing date, and like the times just wouldn't work out because my wife had parent-teacher conferences that week, and I had some meetings at work, and like it was, and one of us has to get the kids,
right?
And so we just kept going back and forth with. So
you have like real life in your 30s.
Yeah, yeah. This has never been a problem before. It's just like, hey, you were going to close at this time, and it's like, okay,
that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
but no, you've got really crazy life right now. You got the typical 30-year-old life.
Yeah, and so. Finally, because I'd been messaging back and forth with them, and I was like, at different points, I'd been like, okay, on this date, this, and this time works. None of that. Okay, well, on this date, this, and this time works. And so finally, she comes back, and she's like, I think it was Tuesday. She goes, this is the absolute last day we can do it, or you lose your rate. How does this time work at the bank instead of at the title office? And I don't care where we close.
Right.
And what? This is our last possible day?
Been doing this since July.
Right. And we got to the end of our extension that I didn't even know had been filed for. So anyway, we got closed, but we get to skip our December mortgage payment.
Yes. Nice.
And so my wife and I've mentioned on the podcast before that we still have the laptop we bought the year we got married. And we're over the 11-year mark on our marriage.
Yeah.
So it's at least 10 years old, but 10 plus years old. And so
it's so old, I believe that your computer came in a box that had cow print on the outside. Isn't it a Gateway?
No, it's a Samsung.
Oh, I thought you had a Gateway.
No, it's a Samsung.
Now I'm sad. Cancel the order.
Cancel the order.
Just use it.
But just use it. But I went home and I was like, hey, so Apple had this event this week, and they launched new MacBooks, and you've been specifically wanting a MacBook because she follows a bunch of teacher accounts, and there's some stuff that you can do on a Mac.
Oh, okay. That
she would like to do, and I said, we get to skip the December payment and blah, 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 blah. Do you think we should get one? And she goes, well, don't you think we need a home computer? And I go, yeah. And she goes, okay. literally the easiest conversation we've ever had about a large purchase.
All right.
But it's because we've been having the
Well,
conversation.
you've put it off for probably years. So
So we've got a MacBook Air M1 coming. Did a few of the upgrade options to it, but it should be here the first week of December.
That's exciting. So
Yeah.
we will have
I should get a mouse this week.
a full review. You should get a mouse. Should get a mouse.
I should get the mouse and the dongle this week.
Yes. The mouse and the dongle.
And eventually I'll have a computer to go with it.
Well, someday.
Right.
Well, that's really cool. That's exciting. I can't wait to see.
It's
not going to be any different, like physical.
That's the weird thing is you get it and you open it up and you sign in or whatever and you're like, I have a computer.
It'll just be really fast.
Yeah.
Like it'll be different for you because you don't use you haven't used.
Yeah, there will be a learning curve.
There'll be a giant learning curve. Get ready for frustration.
I've committed to pages and numbers.
Yeah.
So we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah. That'll be an interesting change. Like there's still a lot of things like in the Mac operating system that I'm like, I don't really know how this works because I don't use it for my job.
Right.
And so it's not like I'm on it every day and it's not like it's iOS. But the good thing is that they're making it more like iOS. So it's getting closer to that. So eventually it'll probably be iOS.
It's just funny because when I was in like elementary school, kindergarten, first grade, everything in the computer lab was a Macintosh.
Yeah.
And it had those big, like, 9-inch floppy disks or however big they were.
Yeah, giant ones.
Like, actually floppy.
Yeah.
And we played Reader Rabbit. It was great.
Yeah.
And then at some point, everything went to Windows. And
Windows 95.
Haven't been back.
Yeah.
So.
Well, now you're back.
Now we're back.
Took a while, but
it took a while.
Came back, and it's changed a little bit.
You think?
Yeah, just a tiny bit.
Oh, okay.
So I'll talk real quick about my experience with the new iPhone 12 Pro Max.
Such a long name.
It really is. It's kind of exhausting.
It matches the diagonal length of the screen.
Yes, it makes me feel very uppity whenever I can't just say my iPhone 12. I have to say my iPhone 12 Pro Max.
My iPhone 12 Pro Max.
Boom.
Boom.
But no, I really like it. Now, I had a 10s Max, which was a little bit smaller screen than this. This is the new 6.7-inch screen. And the big difference, other than the screen size, is it's just a giant phone. It's so much bigger than any phone Apple has ever made. And even if you're going from like a 10s Max or an 11, you'll be like, that can't be that big of a difference. It is a big difference. Even just that little amount in your hand, I would still go for like a 7.5-inch phone if I could.
Right.
but
what size is this?
6.7.
Okay.
And but the biggest thing is the weight. It is heavy compared to my 10s Max. It's really heavy compared to your iPhone 12.
Yeah.
This has got the stainless steel around the outside of it.
That's right.
And just the size of the phone.
It's hefty.
Adds weight.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of lithium ion in there probably too.
Possibly. But yeah, I like it so far. The cameras are really cool. I'm enjoying them. They take really good photos. I took a picture of Lexi last night, my oldest daughter, and it was just a quick snap. And I was looking at it and I go, this thing looks really good.
Yeah.
And it was like at night in our house, and we don't have like 5,000K lights, so it's not like a studio in there. 2700. Yeah. So it's a yellowy type feel, like a old timey lighting.
Warmer.
Yeah. It literally like cleaned it up, put what I would consider appropriate white balance, and her face looks like crystal clear. You can see like the glare in her eyes, like the reflection. And it was just a quick snap. I was like, holy cow, this thing is absolutely incredible. And I'm loving the ultra wide lens on it. They just take such good photos.
Yeah.
I've discovered a thing. I was playing around with Lexi and Kate, and I wanted to take a picture of them up close. If you take the ultra wide lens, does yours have an ultra wide lens?
No, mine has 2.
Okay. Well, if you take an ultra wide lens and you can literally get it within like an inch of someone's face and it still captures their entire face, but it warps it.
Oh.
So it makes them look really, really funny because it's kind of like a fish-eyed look. So we've been playing around with that, making funny pictures. But yeah, I was just telling you, Chad, the only thing that I think I would really, really, really want in an iPhone is I want them to just go to USB-C. I have so many products now that run off of USB-C, and my iPad runs off USB-C. It is a superior connection to Lightning, hands down. Just the way that it connects into the device and everything, it's just so much better than Lightning. I really wish that they would get rid of Lightning and go to USB-C, but that's my only complaint so far on the phone. Oh, I do like that I can now record 4K 60 frames a second out of the front-facing camera.
Nice.
Could not do that before. It was only 1080p. They called it HD, but it would only do 1080p.
Okay.
So that's a really big deal for me since I do the YouTube's thing. Yeah, yep, you got it too.
I can too.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal because that's what I like to record all of my, like, me talking to the camera or non-action type stuff. Just because it looks better on YouTube. But yeah, I'm really liking it so far. Only thing I wish I had was USB-C.
So back to the camera. Because the thing that you said was like, I just sort of took a picture. Like, that's what I have noticed about my super crispy, all of a sudden camera images.
Yeah.
Is that I just tried to take a picture.
Yeah.
But I got this really nice photo.
Right.
And so I wanted to tell you the dark stuff that I was taking pictures of. When you are in the dark, up in the corner, I don't know if you've messed around with that much, but like up in the corner, it'll put like a little yellow, like a timer. Between 1 and 3 is all I've seen so far.
Yeah, I think 3's the max.
And so like you take the picture and you hold still for while it's counting down. And like on the one that I had that was a 1, like I took the picture, it was blurry for a second and then it cleaned up. Like when I took it with a 3, like I tried to hold really still. Because obviously it's like trying to let in more light or something. And so it takes the picture. It looked blurry as crap for a while, like a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's just poof, crisp.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, man, there's so much software stuff going on behind this photo.
I'm only imagining that they are taking multiple photos
pictures
and
like
stitching them and correcting the layers. But yeah, it's impressive. I have been very, very impressed with the camera. But that's really the reason why I bought the phone.
Right, but that's why you bought the 12 Pro Max. Like I've been, and I know that yours still has way more stuff than mine does.
Yeah.
On
camera,
the
extra lens.
on camera features.
Right.
But not just the lens itself, but also the processing behind and the way it's capturing video and all of that stuff.
I don't think it's any different.
Yeah, you have the ability to do the Sony whatever.
You have the ability to do that too.
Oh, do I?
Dolby Vision, HDR.
I thought that was a distinguishing between the Pro and the non-Pro.
I don't know. We're going to have to look.
I don't remember. But I have been really impressed with my, quote, base level camera.
Yeah. Oh, you should.
Because I went from a 7 Plus to a 10R.
Right.
And my camera stayed about the same. Which maybe that makes sense. But then going from the 10R to the 12, like, is super noticeable.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the behind-the-scenes software of how it processes it is so much better than what it was in the past.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge benefit because I did a video where I compared the GoPro Hero 9, the new 12 Pro Max, and my 10S Max. And I didn't do any editing to those pieces of footage that I took. It was just like what the camera took. I just hit play or record and walk the same path with each one of them, because I wanted to show like this is just what you get like out of the box.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I had a gimbal for my phones, but you could walk and still get it. But I didn't do any color processing or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty impressive. I mean, I was very, very happy with how it turned out. So yeah, I like it. We'll see longevity. But as typical Apple products, they usually get upgrades and feature bumps.
Yeah.
As they go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, on to my first topic that I thought I had to talk about.
Yeah, maybe we'll just talk about one.
Okay.
Pick one of the two that you got.
Pick one. So, Apple and Google Pay. There's a personal finance podcast that I listen to. They do a few episodes a week. And, like, they're pretty smart guys. Like, I'm pretty smart with the finance stuff. I know by listening to them that they know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, so they're talking about credit cards and going to businesses in this our time of COVID. And the one guy who kind of asks funny questions sometimes just to be funny, he goes, "Have you been disinfecting your credit cards?" And the other guy goes, "No. Have you?" And he goes, "Yeah, I do it like twice a week, something like that." He goes, "Basically, anytime I actually go somewhere, when I get home, I disinfect my credit cards." And he was like, "Oh, that's weird." And he goes, "Well, actually, I haven't really been using my credit cards because since the pandemic hit, I started using Google Pay."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "I didn't realize that, like, with Apple Pay, it wasn't only Apple's credit card.
Oh.
I wanted to still be able to use, like, my cards that I know get certain points and certain percentages back at certain places. And so I just thought for our listeners, if you've been hesitant to use Apple Pay or Google Pay, you put all of your credit cards and debit cards into this digital wallet. And when you're at a place and you double click to pay, like, you pick which card you want to use before you beep it."
Yeah. You know, it's really funny is because that's probably a common thing amongst people.
Yeah.
Like, as like a tech nerd, like, I know how it works because I watched, I was like a first adopter of Apple Pay. I've been using Apple Pay for 6 years or however long it's been out, 7 years. I mean, I literally put the first card when Apple Pay came out, I put it on my phone, the one that was allowed to.
Yeah. Not
Not all of my cards can do it. My credit union won't do it, but all my other ones do. And it's becoming more commonplace. And, you know, back in the day, you had to seek out, like, okay, I'm going to put my phone up here and people are going to think I'm crazy.
Right.
And I was willing to be crazy. And it was really even fun whenever the watch came out. And people thought I was like Dick Tracy with my magic watch.
Right.
And, but yeah, now it's like almost everywhere has the machines that will do it. And so, yeah, like Chad said, if you are like that guy on the podcast, you can put your cards in there and they're super secure. And what's really cool about it, and I know we've talked about this in the past, I'm pretty sure we have, that with Apple Pay, it's not actually transmitting your card number.
Right.
It's a token that changes every time you use it.
Yes.
And so you don't have to worry about people wirelessly stealing this stuff and all that. It's more secure than using your physical card.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that Google Pay is probably the same concept.
We don't know we don't know the details on it.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely
But
use
yes,
it.
it's a full wallet versus just the one card. Because I'd been using Apple Pay way before I had my Apple credit card.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was a day it came available Apple credit card holder.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I will say this, like with 2020 and the craziness that's been going on, that is one of the big pushes that I have seen. I feel like more locations are now going to they're doing this now. Like I feel like I go everywhere now and it's like being somewhat promoted with a sticker of Apple Pay or Google Pay,
Right.
where before it wasn't. And they want people to use touchless because everybody's,
Well, most of the
you know,
places will like hand their reader out the window to you anyway.
McDonald's. Okay, McDonald's has had Apple Pay for
a long
almost
time. They
since
were
day
an early
one.
adopter, yeah.
But their drive-through has never been set up appropriately, at least in this area.
Unless you were using the app.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you were using just like go up to the drive-through and pay, if you
Yeah.
stuck your phone out, they would look at you like you're crazy and be like,
Right.
I want to use Apple
Can you
Pay.
just
And they're like,
hold it up to it?
they're like getting the machine. But now they've got little handles for the machine. They just stick it out the window and it's like they know what it is.
Yes.
And so even though the pandemic has been really crappy,
Obviously.
this is obviously one thing that's like a silver lining.
Yeah.
That's come out of it. More
getting touchless
pay.
Contactless, however you want to say it. Like, yes, that's good for society.
Yeah, it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
Because I like it.
I do too.
And if we like it, then you'll probably like it too.
It's gotta be good for everybody. If we like it.
Yeah. It's a true fact. It's like mountain biking. It's good for everybody.
It's good for everybody. Except for my neighbor.
Yeah, your neighbor. Yeah. Oops. Too soon.
What should we do next?
Let's do some crazy tech.
And I said crazy tech is what's going on.
You belted that out fast.
Yeah.
There was no editing in between the start and that song going.
You just got to do that one. If I think about it, I won't do it.
You know what? I really appreciate that because normally I have to edit out like the silence of you looking up your lyrics or whatever you got. So there you go. That's as live as you get, people.
That's yep.
I'm gonna go first because I make the rules right this second, unless you change them in a second. My crazy tech is my new microphone that you guys are hearing us on right now.
Yeah.
I got a Rode Wireless Go microphone. Yeah, okay. This is a product that's been out for about a year, and it's made by a company called Rode. And if you're familiar with the microphone industry, the Rode is pretty popular.
RODE.
Yes. It's actually an Australian company, I found out. I did not.
Crikey.
Oh, yes. The dingo ate your microphone. So, but what it is it's a wireless setup, and it is not Bluetooth, which I actually had a conversation with a coworker, and he's like, well, how is it wireless? You have to plug a wire in? It's like, because he was thinking, you just have a Bluetooth signal on your phone. And I was like, well, not all cameras have Bluetooth signals. So what it is you get a transmitter and a receiver, and they're about, what would you say, an inch and a quarter, inch and a half by an inch and a half.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, okay. Yeah. I don't know. It's
a square.
It's a square. It's really small, and it's got a little clip on the back to clip to a pocket or a shirt, or these little clips fit in what the camera industry calls a cold shoe mount.
Yeah.
And if you're familiar with cameras and stuff, you will know what a cold shoe mount is. It's just a place for you to basically click accessories to cameras. And
I was going to say, like where the
devices.
flash bulb goes?
Yes, exactly. Okay. And then on the other end, you've got this is actually the receiver, from what I understand. The receiver, no, that's the transmitter. Mm-hmm. The transmitter has the microphone on it, and it's the exact same size, but it doesn't have a screen on it. And the receiver has a screen on it, and you can see, it's dimmed right now, but you can see the battery of your receiver and your transmitter, the battery level. You can see when you're talking, it's got a little indicator showing that, hey, we're receiving some audio. And it's got a 3-stage level of volume adjustment. So like when I have it clipped to my shirt up here, I'm too loud. So I have to turn it down. Otherwise, it sounds like I'm yelling.
Well, that's nice that you can do that.
Yes.
In pre.
Yeah, because it prevents clipping, which I talk louder. We talked about this. I talk louder than you.
Yes.
So if
most people do.
If if you clipped that to your shirt, you would probably need it to be at one of the higher levels of pickup, where I need it to be at the lowest level when I clip it to my shirt. But as we sit here in the car, we just have it on the lowest level.
Nice.
But these two things pair up to each other. You hook the receiver to your phone or to your camera using like a 3.5 millimeter jack. And then the transmitter just goes wherever you want. You can go hundreds of feet away.
Yes.
Like hundreds of feet. It's actually really amazing. But it's not just the wireless that's amazing to me. There is no latency issues.
Yeah.
Like, I was concerned about that because if you think about it, if you're hundreds of feet
your
away,
mouth moving, but the audio doesn't line up.
It syncs up perfectly.
Yeah.
So I'm absolutely loving this. It's around $200. It uses lithium-ion batteries that are built in and uses USB-C, which is now the industry standard for most. Oh, I about died there. It's the industry standard for most devices nowadays for charging and doing whatever.
So the transmitter and the receiver are they amp plus? Like how do they talk?
2.7 gigahertz. It's like old school.
It's just its own
phone
frequency.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, and what's nice is that nobody has home phones anymore.
Right. So it's not.
So it's not interfering with really much.
Gotcha.
So yeah, cool. I'm super impressed.
Cool.
Go check them out. Rode Wireless Go. It's just a neat little microphone.
It is.
Yeah.
And we did a little tester before.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds really good in the car.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to see like how much reverb we get, because like I did a test in my garage where I had just my phone microphone and you could hear the echo.
Yeah.
But as soon as I clipped this on, the echo went away. So I'm really wondering like how much, like with the old microphone we had, I had to do a lot of like noise canceling.
Oh, okay.
To get it to sound where it was at. So I'm really curious, like, is this going to have even less work?
Interesting.
Yeah. What do you got?
I have the world's first street legal, able to be registered with the government flying car.
What?
Yep.
No way.
Yep. It's got 3 wheels, so it's got 1 up front and 2 in the back. Apparently made possible by a recent engineering marvel of how to make a 3-wheeled car lean in turns.
Oh, kind of like those motorcycles.
Yeah.
What are those things called? Can-Ams?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can-Am, I don't know what it's...
I don't know what it stands for, if it stands for anything.
Can-Am swivel?
And spiders.
Yeah.
They're like that too.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's got 3 wheels, and they said, by the way, it costs $350,000.
Yeah, cheap for a plane.
But it has been permitted to be registered as a car by Europe's motor vehicle operator, as reported by Mail Online, whoever that is. You have to have a pilot license.
Makes sense.
Fair enough.
It can take off.
And obviously you have to have a regular driver's license. It'll go 0 to 60 in 8 seconds.
That's decently quick.
It's decently quick. But the big thing is that they made it a car and they made it a helicopter. They didn't try to make it a flying car.
Helicopter.
Yes. So it has...
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I'm trying to... Well, okay, so actually they called it like a gyrocopter or something, which I guess is different than a helicopter.
2 blades that go opposite directions.
Maybe. But anyway, it's got a thing that folds down on its roof, and you fold it up, and that's how you fly.
Oh. That's crazy, Chad. That's actually...
Gyroplane.
Gyroplane.
Which has blades that rotate due to airflow that even if the engines are cut off, it can still turn. I don't know what that means.
It means you won't die if they shut off. I think that's like one of the things that with that word that you use, gyro thing.
Gyroplane.
I've heard of I've heard of things that basically, like, if the engine's shut off, they basically just kind of float down to the ground based off of, like, just the wind that's coming up.
Instead of just becoming a rock?
Yep.
That's nice.
That's the one thing about helicopters that's always kind of weirded me out. They just turn to rocks.
They really do. Easily.
Yeah.
They turn to rocks easily.
They do.
That's pretty crazy, right?
That's nuts. It's actually kind of terrifying. I wonder if you have to take off at airports, though.
Oh.
Surely they're not going to just let this person just take off going down the highway and all of a sudden the person takes off.
Sure. But, like, people have helipads, like, at their own house. I think you just have to I think you'd have to still submit a flight plan.
Okay.
Saying where you're leaving from and where you're landing. And
yeah, since it's a helicopter, that makes
all
sense.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's cool, though. You go for a drive and then go for a fly. Just typical Sunday type thing.
Typical Sunday. Flying Sunday. Wake up in the late afternoon.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I think when I was in middle school, I had a friend ask on a school day, hey, do you want to go to Six Flags with us tomorrow? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I'll have to ask my parents. And we get in the car and we drive like a half hour down the road to his dad's airplane that I didn't know they had. And we take off out of a field and we fly to almost St. Louis and we get in a rental car and we drive the next half hour to Six Flags, which is the wildest way I've ever gotten to St. Louis. And I was just like, people don't do this.
Apparently so.
But anyway, if you had your own helicopter/car, when you landed, you wouldn't have to have a rental car.
Yeah.
You could just drive a little farther. Do you think it takes rocket fuel and, like, 97 octane?
That's a good question.
Or not rocket fuel.
I know what you mean.
But, like...
Jet fuel?
Super high octane, like, airplane stuff. You think it's got 2 gas tanks is what I'm trying to ask?
This sounds like a terrible idea. This isn't
Why do you think it costs $350,000?
I don't know.
Let's work through all the engineering problems right now.
Well, Chad, that's nuts.
Yeah.
And with that said, I think that's the podcast for the week. I hope that it sounds good because I don't want to have to re-record this.
Ditto.
Because we've re-recorded podcasts before, and they're just...
We've had, whatever this sounds like, we've had worse sounding podcast episodes.
That's 100% true.
That made it to post.
That didn't get booted off the internet for some reason.
Yeah.
It should have been.
Yeah.
So why don't you let the fine listeners know where they can find us if they don't already know. And if they do, maybe you just want to listen again.
Hey, maybe you do. Sometimes we say some fun stuff at the end.
Yeah.
You can find us on all of the streaming platforms. Specifically, we're hosted at Podbean. But you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube. You can find us at our website, which is LunchTimeTechTalk.com.
Mm-hmm.
There you can browse show notes, listen to old episodes, or read our About page. You can click on the link and send us an email. You can do all kinds of stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Lunchtime Tech Talk. We're on Twitter at LunchTimeTech1. We have a Patreon page, patreon.com/LunchTimeTechTalk, where you can leave us money for doing this free thing that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that'd be cool of you.
Nice.
That'd be super cool of you. And then next week, we'd say, hey, insert name here. Thanks for becoming a patron.
Yeah.
You can find me everywhere at MSU Mac. That's MSUMACC, which, by the way, I denied some Facebook friend requests this week. I don't know if they were people from LT3 trying to be friends with me.
Okay.
But I don't accept random Facebook requests.
Yeah, I'm a little different with my
You can
Facebook
follow
too.
you can follow our show page.
Yeah, I don't. I'm very particular on my personal Facebook.
Yeah.
And that's just because I post pictures of my kids and my family.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you can never get there, but just not randomly.
We're going to need to communicate beforehand. Get in my DMs on Twitter. Let me find out if I like you or not.
There is a bar. You gotta meet the bar.
Yeah. Mike, where are you at?
You can find me at runbikemike.com, and there will be a link at the top where all my social media is, and anything else that you want to find about me besides my personal Facebook page.
Well, that's great.
It is great.
For this week, I was a little bummed out because last week was 90 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't say anything.
Yeah,
and we always miss these big zeros. And then it's when we're done recording and I'm like, hey, oh, this was 90 as I send it to you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 91, which isn't as exciting. But last week was 90.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Big numbers.
Big numbers.
It's a lot of podcasts.
It's a lot of episodes.
Oh, man. All right. And we'll see you for 92 next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.